3d6 down the line.
Okay, that is episode 60. What? I forgot now. Three,
baby.
63.
Way to drop the door on us at the very end, John. That was like super puzzle fun right there. I'm just like, I want to start pushing buttons and picking my fingers and things.
Your train of thought with that, both you and Ted were good. We're solid trains of thought. Put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Was mine more solid than Ted's? That's all that I care about.
Yes. slightly more solid than Ted's. I'll give you that. Although Ted started it off. Ted got your mind working, Mike.
Yes, he did. He did. He always does. Yeah. Right. So what are we thinking, guys? The Great Escape with like all the prisoners except the Hopper, or do we just ride the Hopper out like next session?
That elf is gonna rot there, man. The heck with him.
Yeah.
How do they even catch that thing, man? That's insane. Like that's insane.
Hopper?
Yeah.
It's pretty scary.
If you have a full party, right? You could take one of those, knock one of those out, bring it down here to sell.
The goblins are very much like what's the guy in Predator? They're like, if it bleeds, we can kill it. You know what I mean? that's their sort of attitude. Despite their wariness about such an ancient creature or an ancient race, like they're like, if one's alone and solitary and we can get it, we'll get it.
That's crazy.
But now you're starting to see
anybody.
This is a possible downside to your new relationship with the goblins is like you get all this interesting stuff and interesting people that you might want to deal further with, but like one misstep with the king and things could go, like that room is a dangerous room to be in. Like you fuck with the doors, you fuck with those prisoners, you're endangering everything. Right.
Yeah. So of course that's where we're poking around, right?
Yeah.
Now it was actually the king's idea to use that beastman, right? Like that's kind of where we got that idea from in the first place, wasn't it?
Yeah, he simply said like he said that we actually do. He just kind of pointed out we do actually have a beastman prisoner. That's what he told you.
So go ahead.
I was going to say that it sounds unfortunately like the most useful he could be is not as like, oh look, we brought your fellow back to you, but on the flip side, kind of the cruddy thing to do, which is like, oh, we found your deserter who abandoned you, right, and returned him to them and that's not the honorable thing that Mort would want to do. No. But we can't unfortunately promise. Oh, look, we brought your guy back for you, and have him be happy and them be happy.
Yeah,
so
it's unfortunate.
I think it gives us solid intel about like their, what's the front door? What's the safe way to approach? What's some advice about like how to actually, open communications with the beastman without immediately getting filled full of arrows, yada, yada, yada.
Yes. That'll
get us a long way. He can give us that and not betray his brothers. And then we'd be like, okay, thanks, man. You want to come along, you can, and that's what he does. But
And we can probably set him up somewhere. I mean, he doesn't want to be a prisoner, but we can set him up somewhere where we can go back and ask him again, more resources wise, for information resources wise, right? It's nice to have him kind of under, not our thumb, but under our thumb. Did anyone else get like a weird Fae vibe when he was discussing the queen?
Yeah.
Ethereal.
I was sure he was going to say she was a spider or something weird. And then when he
that's
said,
what I was picturing too.
Yeah.
He's like, she's beautiful. She loves to find human men. She's ethereal and strange. And I'm like, this is not going to be a glamour. This is not going to be our Dolmenwood crossover right here. And maybe magically she's responsible for mutating all these beastmen. What if we were to like offer, dispel her, like something like that, and all those dudes turn back into humans?
She's breeding them out of her own body. I don't think that will happen.
Maybe you won't know, Ted, until you have her head on a stick. Like let's just try it out and see what happens.
So one mystery that you kind of have to solve is, if you're going to deal with the beastmen, is the is answering that like how is she controlling or making or corrupting beastmen or something like that, and then marrying that to like, why do they want these mushrooms?
Right.
They basically had this standing order to collect these mushrooms for the queen. Like, what's that about? You know, there's also the very weird thing too that you guys have picked up on, the fact that she has this very otherworldly, like you're saying, fae or arcane qualities to her as the ruler of a very sort of regimented, secular, imperial, imitating sort of military unit, right? Like there's just very kind of hardcore military thing going on, yet there's this very sort of weird fairy queen thing that's sort of over everyone. Is very odd,
Well, I'm smelling a glamour. She may not even actually be human in her form, right? They're just seeing that she's totally ensorcelled them. They're all under her spell. He made a save. She could be a worm. She could be some sort of pulsating sack. God only Mike like that. Yeah.
Gross.
Who knows?
I vote no for the pulsating sack.
What I'm more interested in is it possible to make peace with the beastman if she is alive, right? In any substantive sense, right? She could be totally duplicitous and be like, yes, I would love to make peace with the goblins. And then, as soon as we set up a trading post, she just overwhelms it and drags all the goblins away for food. I don't know. Well, the cloud cap mushroom thing is probably important to her food supply so that she can do this breeding stuff.
What if we took a page out of David's book and set fire to her mushroom grove? David wants to set fire to trees. He's always trying to set fire to things. What if we were just to destroy her mushroom cap, like her clouds cap, like supply, if they're all in their cavern? And although John said it's vast, so I don't know. Maybe that's like completely moist.
I did a bad job of explaining that too. I should make clear that despite the near vicinity of that cavern to the Beastman precincts, they don't have control over it. They just sort of claim it as theirs. But the cavern itself is extremely dangerous and basically like a wilderness underground, with a very strange and dark ruins spotted throughout. So, who did you ask about that? You asked the Beastman himself, right?
Yeah, the Beastman.
So he tells you that there was they make excursions in there to attempt to collect amongst the other mushrooms there. They try to find cloud caps as well. Okay, but it's an extremely dangerous area, and there is a particular unit called the Long Range Cavern Patrol. They actually call it the LRCP. Is an elite unit of sort of like commando beastmen that are sent on the most dangerous missions. Like most of the conturbs are assigned to the precincts where they protect the queen, but the ones that sort of venture out to do special missions, which include the foraging for mushrooms, is known as the LRCP.
Wow.
And they're usually like the best of the best, like the SEAL Team 6 of the Beastmen.
That's super interesting. I mean, that nugget alone is worth a lot. And are there other ways to get into those caverns?
I was scrambling to give you right information, but I didn't have it at my fingertips. So
sorry about that.
I'm giving you no, it's not your fault. I just wasn't prepared for it.
Well, there's quite a lot. I mean, it does remind me, because we have come across those guys. It sounds like before. Those are probably the guys that Mort saw, because I remember you described them at the time. This was on the surface, but they were very regimented and they sounded elite like this.
It does measure up with what the deserter tells you about them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Now I'm curious if there's other ways to get into those caverns, right? Like maybe we can poach their mushrooms, and also maybe it's a back door to get into their area. I mean, very dangerous is obviously very scary, right? But if we need to get in there, it might be another way to get in there.
Yeah. Well, another thing that's a possibility is that perhaps this, border with, this contested border with the goblins isn't really something that the queen herself is involved with. It might be at a lower level, and it might be something that it's just this Count guy, right? Count Scleros Scleros,
Mhm.
Scleros, right?
Mhm.
It might just be something that's under his purview, right? Like it may not even go high enough to be directly brought to her attention. That we might be able to just start the conversation, start the negotiations with these guys, see how it goes, and find out more. Like I can't say, oh, you want to have arrange a peaceful border? Well, let's go off to the Queen. Maybe that would happen. Maybe it wouldn't. But it seems likely that they might be able to negotiate something simple.
I mean, absolutely, and that's the sort of thing that hopefully the deserter could give us some sense of. Like, don't even waste your time. Scleros will take this sort of thing to the Queen, or oh yeah, he would love to have peaceful borders so that they have more time to look for mushrooms. Although, if the mushrooms are integral to the reproductive process of this pulsating sac, then we're just setting the goblins up for more beastmen later,
And also, also it seems like for one prisoner like this that doesn't seem to have a ransom value to begin with, we could probably go up to the king or even his guy Polstrim. Palestrim, yeah. And have him released to us, right? So that we could do whatever we need to. If we just tell the king, hey, we think this guy could help with
I think the king was actually already kind of was the one who like I said earlier, pointed us in that guy's directions. We just got to go get clearance from the king before we do it.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, a little note.
Yeah. If you can make a good case to release any of those prisoners, it's just the king that you have to convince. Basically, it's just very dangerous to affect a jailbreak.
I was joking, John. That was purely a joke.
I don't think that was in the plans.
Yeah.
Although that is, I know you guys are always accusing me of trying to start wars, but Mike's the one who wanted to kill all the halflings. But anyway, we could cause, if we ever needed a major diversion, letting that hopper out would probably accomplish that. Let's keep that in the back pocket for an emergency there.
You should.
But Narbo the elf can rot as far as I care.
And you know what? When we go back upstairs to ask the king if we can have the sheep-headed beastman, hey, where are you keeping that spell book that the guy had? We could put a nice bow on it and give it to David.
You should make a note of that, and then also don't forget the lizardman prisoner as well.
Possible prince. I'm sorry, but have we come across the lizardman territory at all? There was a dead one right outside there, I think. Wasn't there a dead one right outside in Hammer Arden room? Right before Eustace's chamber? Yeah. Wasn't where all the bodies were, right?
With the two statues.
I think that's the only one we've come across.
That was 4 days ago, session 49. There were lizardmen corpses. Let's see, where were we? Oh my God. It's
it was definitely in that
pool. Yeah. We opened the door, exposes stairs up. Oh yeah, right as we were leaving the Arden trials area.
With the two statues, that we got by with the ring. Also remember that in the blue pillar room when David was searching around to the south, there were signs that could be pointing towards lizardmen down there.
Correct. Yes, he saw footprints. Mm-hmm.
There were footprints. There were the poison darts or something in a skull, something like that.
Yes.
But that might be the lizardman area. That could be.
Yeah. So he actually that was actually the furthest extent that he went exploring by himself before deciding to turn back. But that is definitely the case. Yeah. Good memory. Yeah.
In session 2, we found on the obelisk, there's images of humans interacting with large lizards and humans riding lizards. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it gives us something else to do.
So a faction that you haven't really dealt with, but just be aware that there does appear to be your first actual live lizardman in there, and the goblins suspect that he may be of importance.
Yeah. All right. Well, I made a note of that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm thinking, John, we need to this is a little bit off topic, but no. I mean, well, I don't know how you guys feel about this. We've been playing these things very, very long game, very cautiously, but we had such a good time playing really fast at GaryCon. Like, should we try and speed run the whole Plungertown thing? You know what I mean? Just like, no.
You don't drive it like you stole it in a mega dungeon that is like 63 episodes.
Just say the word, Ted. I'm
goblin, yeah, baby.
I'm on your side, Ted. Do it.
Playing the first 15 minutes. Oh, don't talk to the merchant. Yeah. Come on, man. Let's do Plungertown like Commandos. Let's raid it. Let's go.
What is your plan in Plungertown?
Kill everything, dude. Put the disco ball in place. Make friends with Trefco.
I've been thinking about this, right? First, okay. First, we got to find out what is going on with Trefco. Is it, first of all, help me. Is it Trefco with an F or Tresco with an S?
An F. Trefco.
Trefco. I've been calling him
fancy.
In Cisco.
Okay, I've been calling him Tresco. Okay, forgive me, large monkey. Okay, so first, like, try to figure out and honestly, with my commune spell, that's one of the things that I want Avaricios to ask about is like, what, I've got some things to formulate it into a yes, no, but basically, what's going on with Trefco? Can he be reasoned with? Can he be spoken to? Or, because all sorts of things could have happened, right? Like he could just be sad because his friends left. He could have been taken over by the little weird library monkeys. All sorts of things could have happened. And finding out, like, is he approachable? Can we talk to him, or is this just going to be an out and out fight? Is a big question. The other one is finding out, are those baboons still there or are they gone? Right. And somewhere between the stuff that Avaricios has and maybe the stuff that Elizabeth has, we can get a sense of how populated that area is. Are they still gone? Are they there in hiding? Are they somewhere else? Are they waiting for us? Is this a trap he set for us?
So are you planning?
Are they all back now? Yeah.
So are you planning to figure out Trefco and the mystery of the baboons before you install the disco ball, or are you going to attempt to do the disco ball first?
No, I think we have to find out kind of what's going on there first to find out what availability and what kind of time frame we have to install that disco ball. Right.
Let's also remember, Matt, that the disco ball is only efficacious during the daytime. Mm-hmm. So we got to hit it like early in the morning. Also, it does not seem to bother the large monkeys at all, because when we were just through there the other day, Trefco was just wandering around in the sunlight room.
Well, it's a narrow beam of sunlight. He goes around it. He doesn't go through it.
Okay, but even still, they've cut through that room numerous times that we have seen, right? It's not like an undead effect. They're not going to be like blasted away by the sunlight in the room. And then as soon as it gets dark, it's like game on for Monkey Town. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I love the disco ball. It's fantastic. And I just don't think it's going to be the wave motion gun that you think it's going to be.
My assumption all along has been that when we install it, it will fill the hallways with a great deal of light during daylight hours. And it means that we'll have essentially free movement. They will avoid us because they will avoid anywhere where there's light. And we can hit a bunch of rooms and, pick up a ruby throne and carry it out of there. And no monkey will interfere with us until the daylight fades. I did not expect them to burst into flame or die or anything like that. I think they'll just avoid the hallways.
So if you plan on investigating the mystery of what's going on there before installing the disco ball, just remember that you will have to think about logistics of actually portability of the disco ball, whether that's like bringing extra retainers or casting floating disc if Misophase is around or something like that. Just be aware that might be a thing if that's not your first thing on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we can hire more goblins.
It's definitely better than not having it. Let's put it that way. It's better to have it
for sure
than not have it.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question, right? why was that there in the first place? I don't think we've ever thought about that. Like, we've been so focused on, hey, there's the writing on the wall in the yellow room that says, oh, the monkeys don't like the light or whatever. And we found the pieces of the puzzle, but I don't think we've ever really examined why was that put there in the first place?
You have to think about
why would you put like anti-monkey light lasers?
Not anti-monkey.
I think it was just there to light the area.
There's those side chapels that go around that quadrant of that room that are, sort of a Stations of the Cross kind of thing.
That's right.
Which we haven't seen all of. Yeah.
We haven't seen all of them, but I think it's pretty clear that the sunlight is part of that ritual. I mean, everything we've seen all throughout Arden Vul is either, the bureaucratic and, the barracks and things like that, like where priests lived and did stuff, or it's one of many mysteries. The mystery of the snake room, right, where we got the little note that came out of the god's mouth, and we got the statue. The mystery of this, the mystery of that. This is another one of the mysteries. Pilgrims and priests would come here and they would go through the ritual. I think the disco ball and the light features of that center part predate everything else. The mirrors, on the other hand, I don't know if we've ever gotten a sense from John as to whether the mirrors are old Arcantian mirrors or if they were set up later as as you say, an anti-monkey thing.
They are old Arcantian ones. They look to be of a piece with the rest of the architecture around. But Ted, you're absolutely spot on with the importance of understanding or solving the mystery of what the former purpose of certain levels or areas of the dungeon were for, especially for any parts, but especially the Arcantian ones, and that you can't just lump sum say this is the Arcantian area of the dungeon, right? Because the Arcantians are a diverse peoples with numerous religions and all that kind of stuff, and even within the Thothian precincts, which are multi-level, which you guys have witnessed, the Thoth himself has many, many aspects, at least in the church. So you need to be asking yourself, what was the priesthood doing at the Well of Light and in Plungertown? What was the purpose of the church there? And then what aspect of Thoth were they particularly interested in revering in that area, if any? Right.
Well, there's the library. This is Thoth as the revealer of secrets, as the illuminator, as the light of knowledge, right? So
Correct.
The light comes down, it illuminates the hallways. There's the library, and the priesthood is like, I am illuminated with the light of Thoth, and I will go read a book now.
And there's also the giant throne, which is made out of a single gemstone, which means that someone very important was ensconced there, right?
A librarian.
And the pyramid, right, which we know is a transportation device, but also the secret door with the viewing area that is guarded by the giant death statue, right? So there's a lot of things going on in that area.
For sure.
And the phone to God, the phone to Thoth, that's just down the end of the hall,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of which, John, out of the throne room, we found the secret door, right? And we went along there and we did the whole pull the twine job. And then we got to that section where we found I think it was the heroes of Thoth and so on. And then there were some dug tunnels down there. Mm-hmm. And I remember we speculated of various things. Now that we've seen this pebbly, oily surface and connected with the hoppers, was that tunnel pebbly and oily?
No, it was not. No. But the hieroglyphic depictions in those secret tunnels were definitely depicting hoppers like Hecate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You can definitely confirm that now. It's also speaking of purposes of the Thothian priesthood, the pyramid obviously is very important to them. The plunger pyramid. As one of the mysteries or something like that. But the fact that there was this strange, where the stash is, right? This hidden compartment within the pyramid that had a Hecate statue in it is
that's weird.
Very weird. You know what I mean? It's very, very strange. So that's, just keep that in mind because you are accessing that quite frequently.
Well, and if, the thing that keeps coming or that's new information kind of, is, the knowledge that these guys were here long before, right? And these, this is a layering of cultures upon cultures, and a co-opting of things that exist already, right?
Correct.
So it seems like the logical interpretation is that the Hoppers had set up this series of transportation network, and then the Arcontians came and built upon I guess wait before the Arcontians or whoever who came to build the pyramid built that on top of what was already there and backed on to what they already was already
well, and that actually is interesting too, because one of the things we've speculated is that the reason everybody's here is the Arcanum, and that right there by that pyramid where the three mouths were is one of the first places we even saw or found any Arcanum.
That was deliberately placed there, though, right? Like that was like inset into the walls as like part of the art.
That's correct. Yeah, it's part of the ibis.
Sure.
Part of the.
We
ibis.
haven't found any in the wild, though, Ted. We haven't like.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, there's if everyone's there for the Arcanum, I think it's interesting that this overlap of cultures right there is also a place where Arcanum was being. I don't know if it was being revered there or stored there, or was there to power the throne or the radio to God or whatever. I don't know. I'm just riffing.
One other thing that I thought might be like a reason why everyone's here is, do you remember the obelisk of ultimate evil that we stumbled upon and then we backed away slowly and then never went back in there?
That was down those corridors with the hopper things. Yeah.
Yep.
It was there. There's like something drawing things to it, right? And maybe even corrupting them. Maybe the monkeys at one point were really cute, and then the obelisk, just the natural evil of that thing, has corrupted. Maybe everything gets corrupted the longer it's down here.
Yeah, you got some bad juju from there, and it's a good thing to point out too, that whole thing that you were mentioning, Ted, the fact that that was all found beyond a secret door that, from what you could tell, no one had ever accessed, at least within living memory. Right. These sort of back chambers to the well of light, Yeah. So just be aware that's all stuff that, as far as you know, you and Dalton Darlings were the first to actually encounter that.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all know what happened to Dalton's Darlings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyways, lots of threads still, lots of questions still, but it seems like you guys have a clear direction. Like you'll hit Plungertown, see what develops there, and then if you seal that up, you are probably doing beastmen next, I assume, or perhaps maybe that's a bridge too far. Like, have to figure that later, because you might do the geese thing too.
Beastmen next. Yeah. I think beastmen next because it feels slightly more accomplishable than the Formo set and getting going after Goretzky.
Yeah, and don't forget that you have and don't forget all these opportunities you have now for travel. You have access to the troll lifts, which gives you verticality up and down, right? Which opens up a huge amount of the dungeon for you. And then you also have the hints towards the arena and the Inn of the Lost, and you have the what was I going to say? I forget now. There was another big one that I forgot. The teleportation squares. Yeah. So you've got the address. Yeah. You have the address that you have one address that you can go directly to, which is the Cult of Arden, right? Is that the one? No, not the Cult of Arden. The
Lady Clementia's Asylum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So here's a question I couldn't remember. Do you guys remember, Mike? You're sharp. Did we find a teleportation circle in Plungertown? I don't remember that we did. I don't think we have.
Oh, yes, there is one right past the secret door.
Oh, yeah.
That's past the secret door, like somewhere around that room where it kind of shows like what's going on in the hallway type thing.
Oh, that's right.
And the starry sky. There's a teleportation circle there.
Yes.
Man, I'd like to know that address.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
we can get out of there. If we get into Plungertown and we can run, we can head for that.
I can confirm, looking at where you've explored on this level, that is the only circle that you have come across on that level.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I doubled prepared locate object is when we're running around down there, I can try to find in a pinch, more transportation circles or teleportation circles.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a really big thing for us to find, and finding the addresses. That's the only big disappointment that I think I had tonight, was that Sir Sorrow is basically like, there's no indication on the circle about what circle you're actually in.
That's correct.
You know, that
But-
part was kinda like, eh.
But Mike, it's brilliant. We know that every combination of tiles takes you somewhere, so we
Right.
can brute force it to some degree.
You can, until you end up at the
Right.
bottom of the turtle pond, or someplace like that, right? I mean,
That'll never happen.
But just the
I mean,
prospect,
you can also
right? Just the prospect is enough to tantalize. And you're right, Matt. That is a way to do it.
right? You brute force, you just put the tiles in, you see where you are. We learned that there's no cooldown time. So if you don't like it, I mean, hold your breath before you go, right? You don't like it, you put them back in.
But Mike,
But
to
you're
your point,
complaining about the brute force methodology we had in that tournament game. You didn't like that.
to your point though, Mike, you're thinking around the right lines in that it's interesting that they don't have any markings of the address on the circles themselves, at least according to Sir Sorrow, and from what you've seen yourself. But you know that they were used by the Thothian priesthood, like you know that for a fact, right? That these are Arcantian things, which means that the priesthood knew the addresses, which means that somewhere the knowledge is there.
We didn't find it in the Library of Thoth.
Yeah, did we miss that book in the library?
Well, there were a lot of books. We just grabbed some of them. I could, again, locate object is a great thing. I could ask for, try to find a book with that information in it.
The other thing was Isocritus was very excited about figuring out that address. Does Garrelad have a full set of tiles somewhere? Right?
Oh, he's got to die.
Yeah, you were right outside Garrelad's private chambers, but you never actually stepped in and investigated.
Oh no, we did, John, and some giant mushrooms shrieked at us, and then we all got murdered. So that was like that was the thing that set it off.
But you didn't spend any time in there, right?
No, God, no.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah. As soon as we went in, it was bad because we went in there to jump them.
Well,
I literally think we were like first, second level characters at that point, and we're like, "Get him, Ray!"
Yeah.
Well,
you're in a different spot now, and if Ted's predictions ring true, then maybe you'll have the time and leisure to actually take your, to explore things thoroughly. All depends on how you time things and if it all pans out. But
yeah, I don't think with the disco ball it's something that we set up and leave there because, to your point, it's going to get dark sometime, right? But we set it up, it clears things out because, again, it's not just like brightness in a room, but it's that direct sunlight, right? So you set it up there around noon when the light's coming down, and you have a window where the sunlight laser beams are bouncing all around, right? I think there's a little something there.
There's some potential. Yeah. Yep. All right, I gotta start editing this bad boy, so we'll stop it there.